Marco Rubio was asked about his stance on marijuana policy and his personal experience with it in a recent interview, and he proceeded to perform the world's most obvious dodge.
I saw you were asked about whether or not you'd ever smoked pot before.
Right.
Your answer kind of confused me.
No, I'll tell you, it's very simple. When I wrote my book, American Son, I had a segment in the book about how I wasn't a very good high school student. I had a 2.1 GPA, I goofed around in class. So one day someone came up to me and said, you know, I enjoyed your book, but I want you to know my son came up to me and said he doesn't have to get good grades in high school because look at Marco Rubio. He didn't do well in high school and look how successful he's been. And that impacted me. And so here's the problem with that question in American politics. If you say that you did, then suddenly there are people out there saying, well, it's not a big deal. Look at all these successful people who did it. And I don't want my kids to smoke marijuana. And I don't want other people's kids to smoke marijuana. I don't think there's a responsible way to recreationally use marijuana. On the other side of it is if you tell people that you didn't, they won't believe you. So it's just
we'll believe you. I mean,
that,
even if you didn't, you can just say you didn't.
Look, I understand it's a question that people today think they need to ask, but the bottom line is I don't think people should smoke marijuana.
Should the laws be enforced states that legalize marijuana like Colorado? Should the federal government enforce federal laws on that?
Yeah, marijuana is illegal under federal law. That should be enforced.
It should be enforced.
I understand that states have decided to legalize possession under state law, but and the trafficking, the sale of these products, I mean, that's a federal crime.
Right now it's not being enforced.
Look, we live in a country that already has problems with substance abuse, okay? We already see the impact that alcoholism is having on families, on drunk driving, on all sorts of things. And now we're going to add one more substance that people can use. And here's the other argument. When something is legal, implicitly what you're saying, it can't be all that bad. Because if it's legal, it can't be bad for you. And the bottom line is I believe that adding yet another mind-altering substance to something that's legal is not good for the country. I understand there are people that have different views on it, but I feel strongly about that.
All right, so this shows you the same thing that I always talk about whenever we discuss Marco Rubio. He really gets under my skin, and the reason is he's a classic example of a sleazy politician. You know, everything about him is contrived. Everything about him is fake. Everything about him is trying to walk this middle ground where he's trying to appease everybody and say the thing that, you know, will give him the best chance to get elected. None of it is genuine. None of it is what he actually thinks. He has the fake politician's posture and the fake cadence and way of speaking and hand motions and everything. And it's just, he's everything that's wrong in American politics. And there are so many articles that wrote about this, and they had the headline, Rubio artfully dodges marijuana question. To which I respond, there's no such thing as an artful dodge. A dodge is a dodge, which is not good. You either answered the question or you didn't. Could you imagine, that being a teacher's response to how a kid answered on a test? Like, well, little Jimmy didn't answer the question, but it sure was artful how he didn't do the fucking thing he was supposed to. No, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows that's ridiculous. But with the politician, now we like it when they dodge? Didn't that used to be uniformly accepted as, whoa. Answer the fucking question. You do realize you're asking to represent us, and we're supposed to like it when you don't give us a direct answer on a question? And then he said so many other silly things. Quote, I don't think there's a responsible way to use marijuana. Okay, then you can step aside and not run for office. Step down. Because if you actually believe that, then you're a silly person. Then you're not a deep thinker. Then you haven't read studies. Then you don't know how the drug works. You don't care about the facts. You would rather make things up as you go along. Because marijuana is one of those drugs. It's not even physically addictive. I mean, if anything, there's a case to be made that it can only be used in a responsible way. You know, the idea of overusing marijuana, okay, yeah, maybe if you start smoking when you're like 15, sure. Yeah, maybe it's a problem. But if you do it in your 30s on a regular basis, on a daily basis, you're not fucking hurting anybody. You're not hurting anybody. Okay, of course there's a responsible way to use marijuana. If you listen to Dr. Carl Hart, who has a new book out about this and many other things, he's an expert on drugs. And he says, actually, there's a responsible way to use almost all drugs. Isn't that amazing? Like, that flies in the face of what even I would have thought, Where he's saying, look, bar maybe a few, like, the worst of the worst that are made in a way because they're illegal, so you cut them with terrible things like crystal meth or crocodile or bath salts or whatever. Like, bar those, yeah, everything else, believe it or not, the fucking scare tactics aren't true. There are people who recreationally use cocaine, and they're not, ruining their lives and sucking dick on a corner, behind an ExxonMobil. So he's just wrong about that. And the most important thing, there's two parts. One is when he says, well, look, if it's legal, it can't be bad for you. Again, it shows you this guy's not ready for prime time. He doesn't think. Because there's so many things that are legal that are bad for you, Fucking McDonald's and Wendy's and Taco Bell. Are you kidding me? You can clog up all your arteries and croak at the age of 48 if you really eat that stuff a lot. And it's widely understood that greasy shit is bad for you. It's widely understood that Sour Patch Kids, which are delicious, are bad for you. Candy is bad for you. But that doesn't mean we fucking ban it. Fishing is bad for you. More people die fishing as a sport than any other sport in existence. UFC, anything. So think about, does that mean we ban fishing? No, I mean, we can go on and on of shit that's bad for you that's legal. But he goes, no, if you agree and make something legal, that means you're saying it's good for you. No, we're not saying that. If you drink Clorox, you die. Should we ban Clorox? You're just not a deep thinker, Marco, and it's so obvious. And the last thing is, when he says he would crack down on Washington and Colorado, that's all you need to know about this guy, okay? Because, I'm a small government conservative. Small government, get the federal government out of your lives, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, except when it comes to you having the freedom to put in your body whatever you want to put in your body as long as you're not hurting anybody else. In that case, I do want the federal government to get involved, and I want them to crack down on what is the new economic boom in Colorado, okay? That's all you need to know about this guy. He's not ready for prime time. He's a silly person, and final thing, yeah. He definitely did smoke weed, because if you didn't, here's how you'd answer that question. No, I didn't smoke weed.